brand new edition of the Chris Stevens Writes YouTube show. I am, of course, Chris Stevens, a writer who writes and discusses different topics on his channel, which include sports, music, automobiles, lifestyle, society. Obviously, the last episode was a little personal, but, when you're a person that has to, create content, you have to, give people a little insight into your life, not the entire enchilada, as it were, but I'd been talking about dating and stuff on this channel for a while, and I owed you guys at least one good dating story, which I thought was decent. And thanks for the feedback. Shouts out to Shamika from the Mofo Chronicles. Check the rhymes on this very YouTube platform. You can check her stuff out. She does a lot of interviews with celebs and has a podcast with her friends. It's pretty cool. They talk about issues facing women of adult age, so it's pretty cool. And she was aghast at the towels comment that on the last video, and I meant to mention that in that video that eventually for that second trip around with my Tinder friend that we didn't need the towel. So that's just cleaning up a little bit of business there, no pun intended. So this episode in particular, it's viewing on a Saturday morning, April 27th, 2024. Why is April 27th a significant date? Because it is the 25th anniversary of the very first Ruff Ryders, Ride or Die compilation. And I wanted to talk about 1999, the totality, but I think I'm just going to split it up into different albums and different songs, and then hopefully have someone join me at some point during the year to talk about this. Somebody that, someone I trust, somebody I know. Hopefully, my friends that like music and follow me on social media will see this and say, hey, Chris, I want to talk about 1999 with you on your channel. And then we'll go from there. So, Ride or Die Volume 1. It's very important to note that this was hot off the heels of DMX having two, not one, but two #1 albums in the same year in 1998. And it's a very interesting story on the Fader. I don't know if the Fader still has its stuff up, but if it does, it's a very interesting story about how Leor Cohen, who was running Def Jam at the time, goaded X into making another album to close out 1998 after It's Dark and Hell is Hot was already burning up the charts. And Leor said, I'll give you $1 million if you give me another album. And apparently there was a lot of leftover stuff hanging around from the It's Dark and Hell is Hot sessions, and some of that coalesced in the Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, which is probably my favorite of the two albums, because that album was like right in the thick of my senior year of high school. I was going through some things, and Slippin' eventually became one of my theme songs. So DMX was very much a very important part of my life as a person and as a rapper, and I miss him greatly, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that regard. But yes, Ride or Die 1 was introducing Ruff Ryders to everybody nationwide, because the first time you heard everybody on the same track together was on DJ Clue's The Professional. That was the Ruff Ryders Anthem remix, because you already had DMX, Drag On, Let It Off, Eve was in there, and then, of course, you had the Lox, who people didn't know at the time was with Ruff Ryders management. That was their management company. They were still with Bad Boy, but they were in the middle of that Let the Lox Go campaign, which eventually ended up getting them off of Bad Boy by, the summer of 99, which we'll talk about in a minute. So yes, you got introduced to everybody that was on the Ruff Ryders label, who had just signed. Ruff Ryders had went from a management company to a record label, and they had inked an imprint deal with Interscope. Interscope, of course, was run by Jimmy Iovine at the time. And of course, Jimmy Iovine was real close with Dr. Dre and all those folks out there on the West Coast, running Interscope. So that's how Ruff Ryders got that first distribution deal. And Ride or Die 1 came out on April 27, 1999. This was the last few weeks of my senior year of high school. One of those tapes that I was finally 17 years old, and I didn't need anybody to buy it for me. I didn't need to sneak and buy it. Like, I literally, because I was working a co-op job, because I went to a Voltech high school, I was working a co-op job at the time. And took my little paycheck, cashed it, went right to the tape shop on South Market Street, not in Philadelphia, but in Wilmington, Delaware, and bought Ride or Die 1 and put it immediately in my Walkman. Still had a Walkman at the time. For those of you who don't remember Walkmans or CD Walkmans or whatever, there used to be devices. I mean, before a smartphone, before streaming, that you had to when physical media was a thing. Albums were long gone, like 45s and all them shits, they were long gone. But you still had tapes at that time. CDs were really starting to pop, but tapes were still very much a part of the ecosystem. I bought tapes, man. because I just like, being able to rewind. But then CDs ended up becoming smarter because sometimes the tape would flip in and out, would reverse itself, and then it would mess up the song, would mess up the polarity of the album. So CDs ended up becoming the light and the way. But I was still a tape person right up until they stopped making tapes at the end of 2001. But yes, so yeah, Ride or Die 1. Everybody's on there. You got DMX, of course, who is the chief Ruff Ryder. You've got DMX. I mean, I just said DMX. You've got the Locks, who are making themselves Ruff Ryders come hell or high water. You've got this 18, 19-year-old kid from the Bronx named Drag On, who was one of my favorite rappers at the time and still is. You have some folks on the on the fringes like Cross. Infrared wasn't there yet, I don't think. No, he wasn't on that album. And then of course Eve. Eve, of course, a Dr. Dre protege of sorts, because she was the Eve of Destruction. She recorded briefly for Aftermath, but then got with Ruff Ryders and became Eve, the first lady of Ruff Ryders. So this album starts off. I mean, I don't want to go in complete order, and I don't think I will. But if I do, it just happens that way because it's just my train of thought. I mean, it's not a cohesive album with a theme where it's just like, okay, this is Ruff Ryders telling the story. Now it's just like, let's introduce you to the Ruff Ryders camp so you can know what to expect from these folks going forward. I mean, you already know about DMX, you know about the Locks, but let me tell you why the Locks is important to Ruff Ryders, and why you should look out for Eve and Drag On in the future. So, Ride or Die 1 starts off with Ride or Die, which is a sample of EPMD's Headbanger, which of course was one of the very first songs that I can remember listening to in a hip hop sense when I was 10 years old, and that it didn't, I didn't care that I was sneaking around and listening to it. Like, I used to be scared to listen to hip hop because my mom was just like, she hated the cussing aspect of it. But yeah, I found a way to get the Headbanger, and that became one of my favorite songs as a preteen. But yeah, it samples Headbanger, and then of course you got everybody on there. Sheik starts it off, then you've got Jada, then it's Eve, and Drag On and DMX. And they're just taking turns, just talking their shit. Like, I used to wear Drag On's line out all the time, like, because that was the first single off the album. You wrong trying to touch me. What type of shit you want? You better throw your boots on, your unflammable suits on, because I'm coming through with Yukon, black tinted with gats in it. I love Drag On. Like, I do. Like, I can quote most of Drag On shit more than I do most any other rapper, quite honestly. So, yeah, that starts it off. But then the second song with Drag On, the second song on the album, like, this is the one that literally still gets people of a certain age, that were in high school or grade school or middle school up and, bouncing around to this day. And that is Down Bottom. And that, of course, features Juvenile, who, of course, was hotter than fish grease at the time, because this was around the same time that, 400 Degrees was out. 400 Degrees was the first time we had heard from Cash Money in a national sense. I mean, we started with Ha. Follow Me Now came after that. People think it went straight from Ha to Back That Thing Up, but there was Follow Me Now in the middle. But then Back That Thing Up was out around the same time as Ride or Die 1. And that's when Juvenile literally just was out of here, like took off like a rocket. But yeah, so he got on Ruff Ryders, Ride or Die Volume 1, and Drag On was like a kid that could keep up with a faster tempo of beat. Not saying the other Ruff Ryders couldn't, but Drag was just, that versatile of a spitter. And of course, you get Juvenile on there, talking his shit. Like, it was a great song. Like, it's, what I say, it's the best Swizz beat of all time. I mean, World War III is there. The original Ruff Ryders anthem is there. Shucks. He's got a couple. I mean, Swizz's early stuff is unassailable to a point. Like, after a while, some of his stuff got kind of stale, but you don't get to produce like half of Beyonce's B-Day album, and that is a fave of the Hive. You don't get to produce literally half of B-Day without somebody putting respect on your beats. So yeah, while Swizz's stuff sounded sort of repetitive after a while, there's no denying that his stuff is very much a part of our upbringing and our, club standards and our musical, lifestyles as young teens on older teens, young adults. But yeah, do I want to say Down Bottom is the best Swizz beat? Maybe I'll do a best of Swizz Beats on this channel one day. That might be the better bet. But yes, Down Bottom. Whenever that comes up, because I have a Ruff Ryders versus Rockefeller treadmill running playlist. that I use every Tuesday because I run Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And I need something to get me going to start the week of cardio. So Tuesday, I go to the Ruff Ryders Rockefeller playlist. And whenever down bottom, whenever I hear you, I'm like, oh shit, let's go. Let's get these miles in. Let's go. And Swizz Beats. Yeah, me and my niggas done lick shots, even done hit cut. Yeah, I told you I can quote Drag On line bar for bar. No fear. No care. Don't give a damn what y'all think. I love Drag On. Did then, do now. But yeah. Then of course, I mean, we're going in order because I mean, shit, all the good stuff is probably all the important stuff is on the first side of the tape anyway. Then of course you got Eve and Nokia from Dru Hill. Dru Hill. The interesting thing about Dru Hill in 1999 was this is when Cisco went solo. I'll never forget the last video with the Dru Hill 4. Well, not wasn't even a real Dru Hill 4 because Woody was already gone. Woody wasn't even in the video. But this was the You Are Everything like techno remix with Ja Rule. Like that's still one of my favorite songs of 1999. I really need somebody to come on this channel and talk 1999. If you are a friend of mine, or if we follow each other on social media, we have real good rapport and we talk music all the time, please come on this channel and talk 1999 because we got so much stuff to discuss. But yeah, Nokia, he was already producing at the time because he went on to produce one of DMX's biggest hits, What These Want. And he was already he jumped on that little Latin salsa flavored Swizz beat with Eve, and this is when we really found out who Eve was. Like, I mean, there's another song on the album Eve has that really is like true Philly girl, a masterclass of Philly girl shit talk. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, what y'all want literally was the pop record that Ruff Ryders needed. Yes, it was a rap song, but you had this girl with blonde, either a shortcut or straight backs, brick house stallion, oozing eyes, 5'7", thick in the thighs, every thug's dream white. Eve gave girls of a certain age their earliest taglines on social media. Because at this time, you had AOL chat rooms, you had the Park, Black Planet had just become a thing at the time. When you went on Black Planet in 1999 and 2000, you saw so many pit bulls and skirts. You saw so many thugs, dream wives, 5'7", thick in the thighs, and all of that. Eve deserves a ton of credit for giving these girls the lane to be themselves, be whatever they want to be on social media. So yeah, What Y'all Want was a very important record. And then of course you got Jay. We got Hove on the album because Hove had Swizz on two tracks on his previous album. No, three actually. There was three. There was on A Hard Knock Life. There was If I Should Die with the Rangers. Of course, Money Cash Hoes with DMX, and Coming of Age, the sequel with Bleak. And those are probably three of Swizz's best works. Like, if you had to make me pick out of those three, I'd probably say If I Should Die was the better beat. Like, I've been hungry for a If I Should Die instrumental for over 25 years. Not because I'm going to rap over it or anything, but because I want to use it for stock music or whatever, whatever projects I'm working on. But, maybe one day. But yeah, Jigga My Nigga, one of Jay's best solo tracks. And it literally is just him, being Jay at a point where he started to kind of sort of, make room for himself at the top of the list, because I want people to stop this notion that Jay-Z immediately became the top guy right after B.I.G. passed. It's not true. It's not true. DMX was selling out like Woodstock. Like there is the DMX rock show picture where he's in a red overall short set, and he comes out and it's nothing but a sea of unwashed white arms. And as soon as he says, "Y'all ready?" and you hear that dun, 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 and them white folks started going bonkers. DMX was the top rapper in the world at one point in time. Then Jay took over eventually. And it took, I don't know what it took, because I mean, Volume 3, yeah, we'll talk about Volume 3 on another show, but yeah, it wasn't perfect. But yeah, Jigga My Nigga is just another one of them Swizz Beats sing-along joints where Jay just, talks about, all the cash he's got, all the ice he's got. Like, ladies don't know me, said they heard his name. Well, guess what, mommy? I heard the same. You know the name. Jigga. Yeah. Like, perfect. Just a perfect little, solo track. That gave Ruff Ryders some credibility in a sense, because once again, Hove was starting to make himself known as one of the top of the pops at the time. But it really just helped to have him on there, you know, on a Swizz beat talking his talk. And then of course you have one of the very first Jada and Styles back and forth. I mean, I think the first honestly was another Swizz beat. And Swizz was hot at this time. Like, we got to stop pretending that Swizz Beats wasn't one of the most sought after producers in the game in 1998, 99, 2000, and so on. But yeah, it was on Noriega's Banned from TV. And that was the first time those two did like a little EPMD back and forth. And they did it again on Dope Money. And that's not even a Swizz beat. That's from a P Killer Tracks. And I think that's probably where Ruff Ryders went wrong in some respects. I've said it before and I'll say it again, is that they didn't, you know, give other producers a chance. And that's probably nepotism because, of course, Swizz's uncles and aunts ran the label. I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, Swizz would have been, you know, he would have got on eventually, but it helps when you are 20, 21 years old and your aunt and uncle say, you are the in-house producer. You're the Smokey Robinson. You're the Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff. You're the Isaac Hayes and David Porter. You know, you're the Rick Rubin. You're the, you know, Jermaine Dupri, the Manny Fresh, the Dr. Dre. Go do it. I mean, Swizz did all right. I mean, but P Killer had some good stuff. DJ Shock had some good stuff. Teflon had some good stuff. Mahogany had some good stuff. But Swizz ended up doing most of the early production on those records early on. And they're memorable, but Ruff Ryders probably could have had a lot more in the tank had they given more producers more of an opportunity. That's just my opinion. But yeah, P Killer did a good job on Dope Money. But the one of the songs that I come back to on a solo basis, like not even just listening to the whole album. If I just feel like I just want to be in an R&B groove and just, you know, sway, I go to I'm a Ruff Ryder by Parlay. And this was done by Dave Jam Hall, who of course produced a lot of stuff from Mary J, Madonna, Mariah Carey, countless others. And that song, I mean, Parlay, they really got the short end of the stick being on a rap label. It's sort of like Christian and of course Alan Anthony with Rockefeller, you know, because nobody on those labels gave a damn about R&B, quite honestly, unless it was a feature. I mean, you weren't just gonna, you know, get R&B from a rap label. Like that's why Cash Money never had a real true singer. That's why Mercedes didn't last long with No Limit, and I don't even think Slip and Slide. I mean, rap labels were rap labels. You didn't have an R&B presence on those labels that really, you know, got a chance to shine. But Parlay had some good shit when they got a chance. I mean, there's I'm a Ruff Ryder on Ride or Die Volume 1. It's Going Down on Ride or Die Volume 2, which samples Gap Band's Yearning for Your Love. And Can't Let Go on Ride or Die 3, which was done by Mike City, who, of course, had a big hit with Sunshine Anderson, heard it all before at the time. So, yeah, I'm a Ruff Ryder. I mean, like, it's one of those little, I mean, like, this dude gets caught cheating, you know, and he's like, yo, baby, I'm sorry. You know, I'm trying to make it up to you. You know, I'm a Ruff Ryder now. You know, I'm with Ruff Ryders. You know, we're going to get this money. So, I mean, it's not anything memorable for 1999 in the R&B space, but for me it is because just, you know, I listened to that album nonstop when it came out. I really did. I wore that tape out like 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 or 6. But yes. That closes out side 1. And then, of course, side 2 starts off with DMX and this one, like, little 80-second blurb of talking about, you know, and I done drug out enough of your family to have a fucking cookout. It samples Ohio Players' Funky Worm, which, of course, is one of Junie Morrison, God rest his soul, greatest compositions. And, I mean, literally, it's just like, you know, one of those things where, you know, it's an interlude. Like, okay, you know, we had the slow jam to end one half of the album. Now we got to get back into this real street hip hop shit. And this is DMX over an Ohio Players sample, just, you know, talking about how he's gonna kill everybody, and after 6 days after I'm buried, I will rise, the embalming fluid in the veins, the blood in my eyes. And then, of course, we get introduced to Solo Jadakiss. Yes, the very first Kiss of Death. Of course, Kiss of Death would be his commercially best album 5 years later. But the Kiss of Death that was on Ride or Die 1. That's another Swizz beat that, you know, isn't terrible. That is, you know, that is memorable on its own merit. But this is where Kiss just, you know, he talks his shit from the opening rip. I'm like the Dow Jones of rap. Stocks is high. And it never was all love. So stop the lies. It's just like, he was on it from the get-go. In the mob meeting, keep quiet when the dawn's speaking. Squeeze my joint till my motherfucking palm squeaking. It don't matter who the locks is signed to. What difference do it make? Nigga, listen to the tape. Oh! And like I said, this is when the Locks was really in that beef with Puff because he hadn't let them go as of yet. And that's why he said it don't matter who the Locks is signed to because they were still very much, up in the air at that point. But yeah, Jada was talking his hardcore stuff on Kiss of Death. And, don't have a grimy nigga like me fucking queen. We were looking for a solo album for literally that day forward. And of course, Kiss the Game Goodbye didn't come out until almost over 2 years later, actually. But we knew Kiss was good. But we just didn't know how good. I feel like Kiss of Death was the song that really just introduced people like, yo, this dude is nice. Like nice. And then of course, going on to the hood, and this is where Beanie Siegel makes an appearance. Of course, Siegel came to prominence, like literal prominence, over the band from TV Beat, because him and Bleak did 1,000 bars. And Beans' 1,000 bars, like, there are quite a few mixtape Hall of Fame cuts from that era, but 1,000 bars is one that people probably should make room for, because Beans was just like that South Philly shit, he was on it. Like, no mistake about it. Like, just a tremendous masterclass in South Philly gangsta, everything from Schoolie D, the Cool Keith and all Cool C and all those folks. He's just talking that talk. Just talking that talk, man. It was just amazing. And of course, who else was on that song? I think it was New Child who had one of my favorite. Yeah, it was New Child who said had one of my favorite bars on there. He's like, sick dude, type to ask God, you want to battle? I could care less. Send me to hell. I like to trap. After waxing him, I wax you, smack you, clap you. Now that's 2 niggas I left looking like statues. Who talks about, snuffing God out? That is absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, for the most part, Drag On closed that out. And actually, again, I love Drag On so much that I follow him on Twitter. And then I was talking about Ride or Die 1. I actually talked to him on Twitter. I said, Drag, why you trying to put me in a coffin, bro? Because Drag said, when I walk in, stop the talking. I don't give a fuck if it's a nigga with a Walkman. I'm going to put him in a coffin. And it's like, dude, I used to walk around with a Walkman and listen to this shit. And Drag laughed it off. He was like, my bad, bro. But yeah, that's cool. That's the cool thing about social media. Sometimes you can connect with people and, put those things together. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Then, of course, Platinum Plus. Platinum Plus has Jermaine Dupri, Cross, who we never really heard from much. He was on Ride or Die 2. He was on, he's on Ride or Die 3, excuse me. He was on also one of my favorite songs on Kiss of Death, It's Time I See You. And then, of course, Mace. This is an interesting part of 1999 because not long after Mace appeared on Ride or Die 1, he had another album out, but then again, he just disappeared, went to Atlanta and became a pastor. And then, like, literally just was off the map for 5 years, and then all of a sudden randomly came back in 2004. But, oh well. But yeah, Platinum Plus is exactly what it is. It's a jiggy, glistening, shiny suit, shit talk of its own. Jermaine Dupri, like, they call me when they want to get their dough up. Call me when they want to see shit blow up. And Mace is talking about, how he's one of the best Harlem niggas to ever do it, got away with it, put Brandy on the stand, she'd never say who did it. And this was around the time that him and Brandy worked on Sitting on Top of the World together. So yeah, very good, very good song, very fun song to listen to, if you just want to, jig out or whatever. That's also on my playlist. Then of course, next up is there's the Ruff Ryders skit, because this girl is listening to E's verse from the Ride or Die from the Ruff Ryders Anthem remix. I used to be shy, and this random ass dude talking about, I'm a Ruff Ryder, baby, what's up? And she's not buying it. Like, it's true Philly girl. Like, you's a fucking clown, bro. He's like, don't even play yourself. And he can't even spell Ruff Ryders right. I think it was something Roughf Ruff Ryder. And she was like, you's a buff rider. And then it goes into do that shit. And this is where Eve really is just like a Philly girl masterclass. Like, she literally is just doing her thing, talking about, how she can, make these dudes trick on her, how she can out rap anybody. She says, your career finito, here's some dough, go watch a peep show. Like, this was the setup into Ruff Ryders First Lady. And I can't wait to talk about Ruff Ryders First Lady because that turns 25 later this year. Whew, that is going to be a fun album to discuss because it's one of the greatest one of the greatest albums by a woman rapper ever. Not a debut, because it's Eve's debut. I mean, it's one of the greatest debut albums from a woman rapper ever, but it's just one of the greatest albums from a female rapper ever. Ever. Like, it aged gracefully. It aged very gracefully when you think about it. Even with Swizz doing most of the production, it aged gracefully. So, more of that, but also another interesting thing about 1999 was this is, Big Pun's final stand. And he was on Pina Colada with Chic. And that song works because Pun, like, you can hear Pun laboring in his breathing on those verses. Like, I lost 100 pounds, I'm trying to live. You could tell he was still struggling with, the excess weight. Because as everybody knows, Pun used to be this tall, not slender, but, pretty put together dude. He won a lawsuit and just ate himself literally to his grave eventually. And, even with all of that, he still had the charisma and the sex appeal and the bars to be one of the best rappers of his day. So, even with the labored breathing, he was still running circles around Sheik. But it's not a knock on Sheik. It's just how dope Pun was. And Sheik had his own, he's the wise guy of the wise. There's nothing wrong with being the wise guy of a group because people are gonna remember you for something. And Sheik is like, he's got some bars. He's like, y'all the bitch niggas behind cars scared to death. Like, yo, who fighting? And that's another Swizz beat that aged decently. Like, it's not perfect, but it's good enough. But perfect, however, is DMX closing the album with some X shit. Like, that is a Swizz beat that I feel like deserves way more love because it's dark, it's grimy, it's gritty, and it's DMX. It's interesting because what he did on Stop Being Greedy, you could tell he was talking in two voices. Like, he was talking in the voice of, like, you can see it in the video, honestly. Like, there's the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other. And that's the voices that DMX was talking in on, on Stop Being Greedy. But on some X shit, it's just like total darkness. There's like a low, darkness, like, yo, don't piss me off. And then there's the darkness with the raised vocal, with the raised tone, like, y'all really done pissed me off. And it's the perfect end to an album that eventually went platinum like 6 weeks after, not even 6 weeks, 5 weeks after it dropped. Like, literally, the album was out on April 27, June 2nd, 1999. It was certified platinum. So if my math is correct, yeah, that's 6 weeks. That's actually 5. Because there's 30 days in April. Comes out on the 27th. So we'll say just starting on April 27th. That's 4 days. 27, 20, 29, 30. May has 31 days. So, yeah, that's 35. So, yeah, 37. So, yeah, about 5.5 weeks after it dropped, it went platinum. And it's an important album, in the life of Chris Stevens, because Chris Stevens was a 17-year-old kid, dealing with a lot, internally. I wasn't the most popular kid in my school. I had an unrequited love that didn't turn out very well. I eventually failed geometry and had to go to summer school to get my high school diploma. So, yeah, music saved a lot of my life. That's why I'm such a music fiend, because music absolutely saved my life at a time when I didn't know if I was going to make it as a young man. And it's helped me, and it's come back to help me in different times during adulthood. So, yeah, Ride or Die Volume 1 was one of those albums that I had leaned on heavily, walking back and forth from my summer job to Salvation Army, where my geometry tutor worked with me to get all of this shit in order so I could get a high school diploma, so I could, eventually do something with myself. And I did. So, yeah. Ride or Die Volume 1 was one of just most important albums of my teenage years. And I, now the fact that it's 25 years old, just, wow, what is time anymore? Who knows what time is anymore? But the beautiful thing about time is, as long as you're blessed with memories and a solid memory, mine is memory of an elephant. Like, I randomly just remember things that happened years ago. Some of them are good. Some of them are not good. Some of them are embarrassing. Some of them are heartbreaking. Some of them are frustrating. Some of them are like, what if, hindsight 2020. But you remember it all. And that's why I'm very much excited to talk about music on this channel, because music, like the soundtrack of my life can, just wake up a lot of memories about, my growing up years, teenage years, adulthood, my career, different things of that nature. And I look forward to talking about that with y'all on this channel. So thank y'all for watching this edition of Get Right To It. Greatly appreciate y'all's time as always. Damn, we did 3 videos this week. Yeah, I told y'all we was getting back on track, baby. It's important that we get back on track. because as much as I do for other outlets, I really want to start, building up my own little, content, firm of sorts. Not like a firm, but just my own brand. I mean, do I need a brand? Who knows? But I love talking about music. I love talking about society, music, cars, sports, even my dating life, to whatever extent. But I look forward to sharing this all with you guys on this channel, and eventually having more guests on, because the only guests I've had on at this point is my guys Roy and Chris, and we talked about booking WrestleMania. So I need more people on this channel. So if you want to join me to talk about music or different things, feel free. All the contact information will be in the description below. So thank y'all for watching. Y'all enjoy your weekend. Until next time we talk, y'all be good or be good at it.